because we are pretty bullish right now. We've just broken above this major kind of high to the left. Triple bottom, except for this news, which is odd. You can, again, this news, liquidity sweep, sweeping all the liquidity below these lows and pushing price upwards. So yeah, I skipped this one. When you skip trades and it loses, it's just nice. It's a nice feeling. It's a nice feeling. Now this up here is what time was that? 10:25. So here we have liquidity, a breaker structure. Now again, this is one of the setups when we don't really have a solid breaker structure. The structure just breaks past the wick, which I feel in my heart decreases the quality a bit because it's not as clean. Price did come back pretty quickly to the zone, but yeah, it's just unfortunate. We got a nice reaction, but price just wanted to reverse on us, and I think this may have been a reversal in trend. Yeah, so we literally caught the bottom of the change in trend, which is unfortunate. You know, but that happens. You can never predict what's happening in the market, and would I have taken that live? Potentially, yeah, because we are incredibly bearish here, coming down from very bearish price action, and we probably could have got a nice RR. Even if price did retrace, it would have been a nice RR. But yeah, that's just unfortunate, I can't lie. This happens in trading. And guess what? We made it back plus more with another trade. So this trade here had a nice supply zone, good liquidity, good breaker structure. And, you know, you can say, oh my gosh, but price doesn't break past here, it's not good. It doesn't really matter. Because price, you never really, on the 5 minute, you're not expecting price to react from your zone and then go straight down there unless it's like a really big change in structure. You're just expecting a retracement and a reaction, and then price will continue in the trend. And that's exactly what happened here. We're bullish, we catch a sell because we have a lower high here, but the structure here is good enough for me to enter and, well, aim for 1 to 3. There we go, it won. The reason I entered here and not ignored it because it's bullish is because we have such a nice reaction back to the zone, and that reaction from the zone is just very nice. Strong liquidity as well. Everything's just nice about the setup. I really like it, and it won. Got a nice 1 to 3 like that. And that's the thing. That's kind of shows you trend doesn't really matter on the 5 minute as such compared to the 30 minute, which definitely does matter. Here's another setup. As you can see, we have a bit of a bigger zone, but it still does not matter. And I could have risked more. Got 1 to 4, 1 to 5. This is definitely something me personally I could maybe improve on, because as you can see, I have caught a lot of good trades just as they retrace. I hit TP, but there are a lot of situations as well when you can get a higher RR. In this situation, super nice liquidity, super nice breaker structure, very clean, comes back to the zone and then just smashes TP. And yeah, this is actually pretty bearish as well because you have a lower low here before the zone is created, a lower low here, and yeah, it just seems pretty nice area to sell from. And it did actually cause, well, it didn't cause it, but the trend was bearish from bullish, which is nice. And in this situation, again, it's a 540, so this is kind of outside the trading hours, but as I said, I'm taking trades that are outside the trading hours until 6 o'clock. So you can see what's happening. Good thing about this strategy is that literally you can lose like 6 trades in a row, then win 2 trades and make it all back. Oh my god, what the fuck. And we don't enter here because... Yes, I do know, because as you can see, price closed outside our box. That is why. Very strict on the rules. Very strict on the rules. We do not enter when price closes outside the zone. Or when the wick closes outside the zone. Would you have won here? Well, let's have a look. If you aim for... it's probably got a 1. I reckon you could have got a 1 to 2. 1 to 2. Yeah, a 1 to 3. Like... Yeah, but unfortunately we just skipped that because, as I said, the wick went out the zone. In terms of the structure, if this was a valid entry, I would have entered because I have really nice liquidity and a breaker structure. As I said, the strategy, although it's a lot of intuition, it is simple as well. This one here again, I just didn't enter because we had this consolidation before the zone I wasn't a fan of. However, it did end up winning, and also I didn't enter because I don't think it tapped. Yes, it didn't tap. However, this candle did tap, and you could have got an entry here, which would have won. But for me, it's just a bit too... Its setup just seems a bit bearish to me, I can't lie. Price action coming down on the bottom, in the middle, and at the top, 3 triangles pointing. I don't know. I just didn't enter. I didn't really feel like it was a valid setup in my opinion. But, you know, that's fine. As I said, you will skip trades and these trades will win. And that is when your psychology gets tested. But it's okay for me because I literally entered, is this the same day? The same day, Friday, 140. And look at that. You get a nice 1 to 2. Could have aimed for higher. Probably should have aimed for higher. But, you know, we got a 1 to 2. And that's very nice. That makes back this loss plus 1%. And for this trade, again, lovely liquidity. Break a structure. Oh my gosh, it doesn't beat the high. It doesn't matter because it still wins. Like, it's a 5 minute. And honestly, yeah, that was a trade I would take in live markets, especially with that retracement back to the zone and this entry. When it enters like that with no, like, you know, bearish candle as well, it's just even more clean and even more nice. This here was a shame because this is a really nice setup. Unfortunately, it closed inside the zone, so we couldn't take it. And that's why you follow your rules, because if you did take it, even though it closed in the zone, you would have lost the trade. This one here as well. So this trade, yeah, I could have entered on this one, but I chose not to. I chose to skip. Unfortunately, it did win. Unfortunately, it did win. For me, but yeah, this one I also may have not entered because we were very bearish. And the setup was just a bit less enough quality, especially that. I think it's the entry that kind of made me kind of a bit scared of this one. The entry was very bearish, have a huge top wick. And the fact that we're not bullish right now is just a bit of an anti-confluence. So I did end up skipping this trade. And yeah, it was an unfortunate loss of a win, if you could say that. But it is what it is. Now, here we go. Oh, I love setups like this when they kind of like have like a smooth liquidity. What the fuck? And, oh my god, I didn't get stopped out. Yes, oh, see, that's the thing. You find this very often, and it tests your psychology when price comes within like a pip of your stop loss. But look at that. That is an amazing trade. 1 to 3, lovely liquidity, lovely breaker structure. It's very clean. It just goes with the trend. As you can see, we have higher highs coming up, breaking all this area to the left. Especially this high here. We break that completely clean. And look at that. We get a really nice 1 to 3. Just aiming around this area, and it hit like that. Perfect. Here's another setup. We have a good confluence because it's reacting off a supply zone on the way down. So if it's reacting off a supply, then you get another supply. That's just good because it seems quite bearish. Now, you could argue that this is a kind of triple bottom, but as we've seen before, it doesn't really matter what's going on, kind of, if it doesn't beat the low. It's kind of, if it's on the same height as a low, it doesn't really matter because it still can win. We do have 2 lows here though, which can be a bit of an indicator. And this was unfortunately a loss. This setup is decent. I would have entered this in the live market because we're reacting off supply. We have liquidity, 2 layers of liquidity, a clean breaker structure here with a visible gap, and a very nice clean return to zone and lovely entry. And I could imagine this definitely hitting full TP. It's just unfortunate we just entered on the area of literally a reversal. Yes, also you gotta be like, you just can't. You gotta stay consistent with your back testing. Do not count these candles as TPs, because like that's just no way. Now here I did avoid this because the liquidity was too high. Now for me, I said this before and I'll say it again. I don't enter trades which have liquidity like this. There's a YouTuber called RD who made this strategy and he likes trading with liquidity like this. He counts it. I think it's 1 candle, whatever liquidity, 2 candle. I don't look at liquidity like that. I just look at it if it's an area where there would be liquidity or not. But this here, I just wouldn't count as liquidity for me. I just don't like it. This here is an available area of liquidity I would count, and it's just too far. And the entry, I don't know, it's alright. But as you can see, the strategy's goated. It still wins. Like that's so good about the strategy. But I didn't enter. I skipped this trade. I just wasn't really a fan of it. It's a bit too much of a... Right, now with this setup here, I believe that this was... I was going to say, I was like, why didn't I take that? I would have taken that, as I said, 7.45 before our time frame. Very unfortunate. The reason I start at 8 is because many times I have placed a trade at 7:30 till 7:55, and London Open just fucks it because of the volatility. Depends what obviously this pair is USD JPY, so it isn't as susceptible to that. But quite a lot of pairs, especially GBP pairs, they just react at London Open, and it's just like gambling. And what the fuck, big news there. But yeah, in terms of setup, liquidity, I'd rate that probably a B plus, just because of this weird wick here and this retracement before it comes back to the zone. But we've got decent liquidity, so I think it's alright. Right, now look at that. What is that? A 1 to 3? A 1 to 3. This is a very nice little trade. Nice liquidity, break a structure, comes down. Now this is a bit of an interesting trade because it does come, it's like quite slow. It's like flat at the bottom. But I did take this because I just felt that it was a nice trade, to be honest. And the liquidity is so strong. Big structure is very clean. All white movement back to the zone very quick. Overall, that just looks like a pretty nice setup. Yeah, I'd probably rate that maybe even A, because it's just the only thing I don't like is this flat bottom. But you know, have another setup here. This is just a classic setup, pretty clean. We have a fake out zone here, which provides liquidity. We have very strong liquidity, very close to the zone. Break structure. We have double break structure here. And we have very bearish, and this definitely seems like a good area to sell from. It looks like we caught a reversal, which is quite unfortunate because this was a loss. But you know, it is what it is. That is trading for you. You do lose, and especially with a strategy like this, I have a 50% win rate. If you have I think it's very hard to get a high win rate. If someone's got a high win rate on this strategy, they're like, if it's not proven and it's some back test, it's a bit bait, because you do take setups like this which are valid and they do lose. So that's the only thing about the strategy. It's quite hard on the psychology because the trades will be losing, but because of the high RRs, it's also good on the psychology because you know that if you place a trade and it wins, you'll make back most, if not all, of the losses you have just lost. This trade here, not a fan because I didn't like it. Again, it won. That's the thing. This strategy is just, even if you took low quality setups, you still win and you still be winning. Yeah, it did win. For me, yes, liquidity, bigger structure, but we have this just, it fails to break this high to the left 1, 2, 3 times. It fails to break it 3 times. So I was a bit suspicious of this trade, and it did end up winning, which is a bit of a shame, but I don't care. I'm not bothered. It's not something I'm interested in entering in. Now, this trade here is definitely something I'm interested in because look at that. That is such a nice structure. And this is why, if anyone's got a really high win rate, if you see a trade like this and they skip it, it's just why? How are you getting such a high win rate? Because this is an absolutely valid trade. We have really nice liquidity, really nice break structure. 1, 2, 3 times, all forming liquidity. Liquidity is bullish. This top is bullish. It's all bullish. We're looking for buys. Oh my god. And that entry is just so nice because you can just shoot for a really nice RR. Unfortunately, just price retraces down, then goes in a direction maybe here. Unfortunately, yeah, prices did not accept our trade, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, this trade is definitely valid in my opinion, especially as price actually does close just above this high here, which is just very nice for me. So I like that. I like that trade a lot, and I would enter that any day in the live markets. That's super nice. Yeah, this is unfortunate. A big structure trade. Liquidity, big structure, goes to the highs. Decent return back to zone, but the thing is, you can be skeptical with this trade because we have this kind of just consolidation. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 candles before we actually get the entry candle, which is always a bit suspicious because you're like, well, if price tapped the zone here and there's meant to be waiting orders here, then why didn't that close bullish and why didn't that happen there? So this is something you can actually look out for. But yeah, I've seen trades like this win as well. It is the game. We are very bullish up here, and it's more bullish than bearish in my opinion. This is somewhere I would probably buy from. Now this trade here, lovely. A+, 1 to 5, I believe, 1 to 5. This is an absolutely amazing trade. Liquidity, liquidity is so strong. Break structure is so nice. break these highs to the left. It is a good confluence if they break the highs to the left, because it just shows it's bullish, and we want to see the setup shows the kind of direction that we're entering with. And yeah, that's just a very clean setup, and the way it just comes back to the zone really quickly, it's just nice. And yeah, 1 to 5 like that. Another really nice trade here. This is another pretty much textbook trade. I really do like it when we have these entries. It's very clean, simple entry. And I just like this setup because we're kind of bearish. You break this low here, and you could argue, oh, it doesn't beat this low. Oh my gosh, it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter because it still wins. Because as we were talking about, don't expect price to come all the way down here because it's not the 30-minute, it's the 5-minute. We just expect small retracements. And oh, this is so goated. Like, oh my gosh, look at that TP placement. That's the thing. That is what I'm kind of in the middle of, because I find myself winning a lot of these trades because of the TPs, but a lot of trades also end up having potentially higher, like, you know, TPs as well. So that's something I'm going to go back on at the end and probably analyze and see if you can extend the TP on. This one here, it's unfortunate. Hit TP after getting stopped out is a shame. Not to get emotional. We have very nice levels of liquidity, 2 wicks creating liquidity there, and we have the breakage structure. As I said, this breakage structure is caused by a wick. It's a wick creating that high, which is then broke. But the setup is good enough in quality for me to enter, because the way it comes down to the zone is just so nice and clean. And we also have a higher high here, so we do have a bit of bullish momentum in the market. And yeah, very nice entry. That entry, as I said, entries like that are absolutely perfect. That's super bullish because it is what, like a hammerhead like candle. You can aim for really nice high RRs when it's like that, because you don't have to have price move a lot for it to reach really, really good RRs. Unfortunately, that one did lose. Now, here's another very nice setup. Yes, this one is valid because there is actually a decent amount of space here. Yeah, so this did not close inside, so it's fine. And that's a very strong reaction, and it just ended up winning. Like, this is a very strong setup. Liquidity is very close to the zone, but that's all right. It doesn't tap the zone, which is one of our rules, and it isn't like absurdly close. Like, you only have to zoom in a bit to see there is a bit of distance between the zone and there. Clean. We have a breakage structure. As I say, breakage structure, liquidity, entry, it's all you need. And although price did not come back down quickly, there was a retracement. That's fine. It's high enough, and there was only one retracement, so we can allow that. It also does break past these lows, which is obviously not fundamental for the 5-minute, but it is a nice sign that it's bearish. And overall, I mean, look at this market structure. Super nice. Lower highs, lower lows, coming down. There's no reason why it shouldn't come down even further. And that's what it does. We could have aimed for 1 to 3 even, but we didn't, which is a shame. Now here, very nice setup. Would have entered this any day in live markets, because USD JPY just loves providing really quality setups. Like, look at this. It's really nice liquidity. Break a structure, high, beats a high. Bullish, 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 bullish. There's all signs of bullish momentum here. Coming up to fill this gap here from this maybe news in Asia session. And I would have entered this in live markets, to be honest, because the entry is just clean. Like a modest 1 to 3 without even targeting the highs. An issue here, though, is that we do have a zone below, which is a common theme with this strategy, the zone fallacy. Do you wait for another zone to hit, or do you enter now? For me, I do enter when the zone is tapped, any zone. But this one did not provide an entry on the second zone, so we didn't take it, which was a shame. But yeah, this one ended up losing. That's the thing with this strategy. Good trades do lose, so, you know, that's just how it is. Now here, very nice, very nice. Although the breaker structure isn't too major, it's just a very clean trade which warrants me entering. It's another example of like a small structure trade. We have very strong liquidity, very close to the zone, a very nice return to the zone, and a very nice entry. All these very nice things make it a very nice trade because you get a nice RR. Could have aimed for what, a 1 to 3. May have a look at that again, as I said at the end, but we are in a bearish. We're still bearish, but we are bearish from here. We have lower highs, lower lows, and although price does retrace up here, it goes and forms these lower lows and these lower highs here, which is just enough a bearish sign to, you know, enter, and I think that's valid. This one here is just an example of one I wouldn't enter because of the stop loss is too big. Now, as you did see earlier, some of these trades did win, but this one here, you need price to move all the way up there to go break the highs of this double top here to what, get a 1 to 2. Like, if you're getting a 1 to 2, at least like have like a modest price movement. Like, this is almost the same as a stop loss, this trade here. It's not worth it. It just doesn't make, it's not, I don't know, I don't like it. I don't enter. Again, another trade, 1 to 2.5. Could have extended the TP, but we didn't. Now look at this. Good liquidity. Supplies are disrespected. Well, that's a lie. Supplies are respected, because they are respected here. So I take that back. But, as we said before, and I'll say it again, 5 minute, it doesn't really matter at all. It doesn't really affect the outcome of the trade, I feel. Because this one here, it won. We have good liquidity, breaker structure. This liquidity is within distance for me to enter because I visually do my liquidity. I don't measure it in pips. I've never done that. I think this is a valid trade. As for this trade before, yes, thank God, it was on an earlier time frame, 750. Now, if I entered that, I would have lost, but it's out of my time frame, so I can freely ignore it, which is great. This one, however, is in my time frame at 940. Would have entered that and got a nice RR. And yeah, very valid, very nice structure. I like that trade. And especially with the way it comes down to the zone. And a very nice entry, single candle entry. This is very clean in my opinion. Ooh, now this one I just didn't enter. Because as you can see, we have potentially a news candle, but it just formed a double top. I just didn't like it. Yeah, it formed kind of a double top and that was too much for me. The structure just wasn't clean enough for me to enter. Because if this is news, then what, is price coming up here to fill it? Like, why is price moving after it? Like, you never know with news, because with news affects like actually international investors. Like, they will, after news, price may be moving because of news, so always want to be wary. So this one I skipped and for good reason. It lost, which is good to see. And we have holy gap here. Which way is it going? Upwards. These gaps are often filled, by the way, but that's pretty big, so I'm not sure. That may actually be, yeah, that's crazy bullish momentum now. No. Now this here is an interesting setup. 755, yes. That is why I'm telling you guys, that is why you trade within your time frame. So many trades at 750, 755 are lost. I just don't take them because I don't trade at that time. I trade at 8 o'clock and past that only. This here I would have taken in live markets because it's a nice setup. I would call that maybe even a setup because look at it. You have liquidity formed here and here. You have a double layer of liquidity, which is very strong. Single layer is good, double's better because there's double the amount of people placing the orders. We have a very clean breaker structure. Yeah, I think this is a pretty decent setup. Only issue is we do have this area here, which is kind of awkward. So whenever you're trading, right, it is kind of bad to trade around these kind of areas, especially if they haven't been filled. Because most of the time, I'm not saying always, because you can never say always in trading. Most of the time, this area price will come down to it and fill this kind of gap before coming back up. Because that's what the markets just do. But yeah, I didn't enter because guess what? It's not in my time frame, which is really nice. Now this setup here is fucking valid. This is a valid setup here. Except, as I said, it's not on my time frame. I really like setups like this when it's kind of a smooth liquidity because they look really nice. That is very strong liquidity, very strong breaking structure. And we have a bit of bullish momentum as well with some higher highs and higher lows coming in. As I said, this time was 735 out of my time frame, and guess what? I lost. So if you entered then, you would have lost. For me, I wouldn't have entered because I wasn't awake. Here, a valid setup is provided because I believe that wick is within. Yeah, I think it is. However, like, the stop loss is too big. The stop loss is just too big. Like, look at this. If you actually did enter here, because technically it's a valid entry because it's a bullish close. So you aim for the minimum, which is 1 to 2. Like, bruh, you're done. You're done. Price went and moved above the high of the setup, and you're still not even halfway through hitting your TP. Like, it's just not worth it. It's just too big. Like, if it was there, like there, it would be chill. Now this trade, this shifted. Yeah, so I did enter there. This here is valid liquidity. We do have the break structure. It is caused by the wick, but I've entered on trades like that before, so I will enter it again in this situation. Time frame, yeah, that's a valid trade. We do have a bit of bullish momentum, I guess. We break this high here, And yeah, that is just a trade that loses, unfortunately. Any reasons for loss? Well, we are on a downtrend, as you can see. But we do have a higher high here, which this is a pretty significant low, and this is a pretty significant higher low. So this could be potentially a reversal, you know, and that is somewhere I would be looking to enter. If this was down there, maybe it'd be a different story, because although I see trend doesn't matter, it can matter. Like, you know, you got to just be a bit intuitional with it. Is there a setup here? Now, this one could have been because of the stop loss may have been a bit too big for me as well. Yeah, I think this was. Yeah, I skipped this one because of the stop loss. It's just too big. Let's see if it wins. Oh my god. See, I just don't like entering when the stop loss is big. Because it has to be, it's in relation. I'm talking in big in relation to the setup. Because look at this setup here. In my opinion, this is a clean setup. We have liquidity formed there and there. With a level, you can see we have two distinct areas of liquidity. We have that there, and we have this here, which is valid. That's good liquidity. That looks nice. And we also have a breaker structure as well, right here. Although you can say, oh, you know, we get a bit of retracement, it's fine because the liquidity is still all there. All this area here is still valid liquidity. But this stop loss is just big because this reaction from this area takes up half the setup. Like literally half the setup is taken up just by the entry. For me, I don't want to expect price to move all the way down here to this zone down here just for 1 to 2. It's not worth it for me. I just skipped it. See, when I think about intuition, it's a combination of all these factors. Like, it's a nice setup, but price didn't exactly come quickly to the zone, and you got the big entry, and you got these higher highs coming up to the area, and price beat this high. I guess you could say maybe it's a lower high there, but you could also say, I don't know, there's always factors. For me, I didn't rate it, mainly because of the size of that entry. But yeah, and oh my god, the goated time frame. 7:45 L, huge L. 7:45. You got stopped out. I tell you, this is what backtesting is good, because you start seeing these patterns, like all these setups that happen. They're like clean setups, but they happen in the range of like 7 to 8, and they just lose. I mean, the setup itself was valid for sure. It was a nice setup, but we look at stuff like this instead. So what do we have here? What time is that? 9:20 in our time zone. Remember, we're doing it from 8 a.m. Liquidity right here. Big structure right there. This is interesting because it's not your fundamental, you know, like clean setup, as some could say, which look like this. Because, as you can see, well, let's fix it a bit. We have this extra bit here. And this happens a lot when you're trading, which is why this strategy can actually, although it's so simple, get complicated. Because in this situation, we have a third, what's it called? A third price action. I'm gonna call it a price action. We have a third price action here. Instead of 1, 2, we have a 1, 2, 3. And often, most setups are like this. They're not always perfect. And here's where intuition comes into play, because there are actually many varieties of this situation. This is the one we have right now, where we have obviously a bit of consolidation. But ignoring that for now, you can also have a setup like this. And you can also have a setup like this. And it definitely does change how you view the setup. Because if you have a setup like this, alright, yeah, we do have a high-low, but overall, this high is lower than this high, and this low is lower than this low for the liquidity. So we're kind of getting a bit of, you know, bearish direction here. But if you get a setup which looks like this, and the liquidity is actually higher, and the second thing is actually higher, like, hold on, alright, although this is down here, looking overall through the middle, we're kind of actually getting a bit bullish here. So this is why you kind of have to analyze these setups and look at these second retracements, maybe even third retracements, and just analyze it. Now, as I said, for this one, this high is lower than this one, so I call this a valid setup to take, because the overall direction is still bearish. Now, if it was like this, I would kind of be a bit more wary, because the overall direction, although we have this break of structure here, it's a bit more bullish. In this situation, we also have this consolidation, which most of the time is bad, because when it's consolidating before the zone, you're like, well, why doesn't price just go back to the zone and then touch it. I don't know, it just interferes with your mental. However, the reason I took this trade is because this consolidation still kept liquidity. It still kept this whole area of liquidity here until the zone was tapped. Now, often you find there's these big wicks and just take the liquidity and then it comes back and takes it. But here, you can see there's like a physical wall, I guess, of price that just doesn't pass this line. So I was like, all right, judging by all these factors, we have kind of low here. It looks more bearish than bullish to me. And, you know, that entry candle is so nice. It's a really nice entry. I'm going to just go for an entry. And look at that, 1 to 5. I mean, say you're on a 4-trade losing streak. You just make it back +1 with this strategy. It's great. Talking about losing streaks, I've been on a losing streak for a while. I mean, last bit of 2025 has been absolutely awful. I can't lie. Seriously. It's been a test for sure. It's fine. I'm still pushing on. It's chill. Fortunately, I did not manage to get the really nice TP that I normally get. This is a, normal zone. Very nice setup. And price does close above this high here, which is, as I said, that is kind of one of the rules I mainly look for. Price physically closing, not just a wick, but like physically closing above the previous high, which is happened here. Very nice liquidity, very strong. Still valid. There's decent distance there, plenty of distance, you could say. So close to the 1 to 2. We do have a couple of candles in the zone, which is what it is. I prefer just to see a single candle, but honestly, that's fine. And here we are back on the backtesting. So I think we should backtest this until the current date, which is the 4th of the 12th. So we have a couple days. Now let's see what we can do. Yes, there we go. All right. Let's get backtesting. Looking for buys here, I can't lie. Now, this is a setup right here, but am I taking it? No, because, nah, it's just mid. Right, here we go. Now, this is a setup I would take. Let's have a look at what we can do here. Now, what am I going to aim for in this situation? Bullish, close above that. High lows, higher highs. 1 to 3. No, I'm going to aim 2.5. 2.5. Now, with the setup, let's have a look. We've got strong liquidity at the bottom. Another layer of liquidity here, 2 braces structure, and yeah, I think that's a pretty valid setup in my opinion. Probably A- because of this area at the top here, it's a bit flat, but the return down to the zone is very nice, and that entry as well is beautiful. Let's go. Let's have a look. 218. Wait, only the stop loss was a bit wrong. Unfortunate L, I'm afraid. L on the first live back test. It's a bit awkward. Nah, that is a shame. I would have taken that in live, to be fair. I think that's a valid setup. Enough liquidity. It is what it is. No, it's a double bottom. No, I'm going to skip it. Unfortunately, it is pretty evident that that's a double bottom. Let's see if the skip actually works or if we end up skipping a winning trade. Yes. Nah, even if that did tap, I'm not entering because, as I said, I want price to close above the liquidity high, not below. And that's invalid, which is very unfortunate. So I guess the next zone we are waiting for is down here. Will price come down to the... No. Often when I have events like this, which 1:30 probably news, I just skip it to the next day because news definitely affects trading. 100%. Well, that's obviously an obvious statement, but some people do actually like trade off the news, and I think it's just a bit silly because there will be changes in the liquidity of the markets as big players will be moving their positions before news occurs, especially if it's significant, which changes the structure of these setups because these setups are literally off institutional orders. So if they cancel their orders, these zones will just be shit. Now here, will I buy here? My gut feeling says no because we're just so bearish right now and there's no sign of any bullish. We haven't even beaten this high or anything. It's just like, this is a situation when the strategy comes more difficult because you're faced with like a technically valid setup. Like this is technically valid because you got the, big structure and liquidity, but double top, fails to break high. I think I'm gonna skip this one. Let's see if it wins or not. It's too bearish in my opinion for the market, but oh well. Missed out on a trade there. It's better to conserve your capital than to lose it, that is for sure. I'm not entering on that because of that wick. It just makes it shit. Next day, please. Watch this. This will tap before 8 o'clock and it'll lose. Time is at 7:20. Told you. Is this valid? I do, to be fair, kind of have a rule in my head that if it touches the edge of the box, then I just don't take it. For back testing's sake, we can forward test it, if that makes sense. In terms of structure, we have liquidity, but there is no break of structure from this liquidity at all. This is literally just a straight line going up. The break of structure happens actually further up here, which doesn't create any liquidity, really. So, pretty ass setup in my opinion, especially with this liquidity sweep here. But I'm not going to take, cause it taps the box and I'm just like a bit skeptical of stuff like that. It'll probably end up winning because EJ's a good pair. As you can see, it did win. Oh, come on. Yeah, fair enough. But that did not break. That's not valid in my opinion at all. I wouldn't take that anyway. Because the liquidity needs to break the structure. Like, the liquidity needs to break the previous high, which it just doesn't. There's no break of structure at all there. You can see it's literally like a straight line. Oh my god, it's a straight line going up. There's no break of structure at all. The only liquidity you'll be acting off is this, which is too high. So yeah, fortunate no. However, if you were taking low quality setups, that would still win. And that's why people do that. It's a good strategy to just take all setups because you'll get a higher trade frequency, a lower win rate, but you will end up still probably being profitable because they do win. The strategy does work very well. It's crazy, to be honest. Oh, I went a bit too quick. That doesn't even count. Come on. That's unfortunate. It didn't tap. That would have been a really nice setup. That's a lovely setup there. Another example of UJ's. It's so good. I knew this would give a reaction. For me, like... Why do you set up so hard now? Why am I getting a selection of difficult setups to enter? This will probably win because it is just so bearish. Like, but is that liquidity? Like, say you were viewing it from here and you're a retail trader, would you put your stop just above there? Like, do you think that's a good place? Fuck it, it's not enough for me. Oh my days, this is ridiculous. Let me just have a look at it here. Wait, would I enter on that? Like, nah, I wouldn't enter on that. No, I'm sorry, I wouldn't enter. Alright, come on, let's at least get one trade before this session is over. That's what's been happening recently in 2025, late 2025. It's just all the high quality setups have been losing and the low quality setups have been winning, which is hard when you trade high quality setups, but it is what it is. I feel like my face is kind of blocking some of this trading because the chart moves to the side whenever I move forward. My bad. The fuck is this? Some weird market structure. I tell you what, it's odd. That is invalid because it didn't tap, and that reaction is fucking massive. Always go a bit too far. Oh, set up here. Nah, liquidity's too far. Like, look, this is visually. Nah. Nah, I'm gonna skip this one. Let's see if this one wins or loses like all the other low quality ones I've skipped. Alright, there we go. Thank you. Finally, look at that. That is actually beautiful setup. Super nice liquidity. Super nice breaker structure. Really clean. Last final push, breaks past all the highs, comes down really nicely. Let's aim for a 1 to... This just looks nice. Like, yeah, I'm totally happy aiming for 1 to 3. Will this win? No. Alright, that is unfortunate. Trades do lose. Let's see if this bottom zone provides an entry or not. So, let's see. I think this is the last day of... Oh, no, that is just unfortunate because that's a double bottom. Probably will win. No, it didn't actually. That's invalid. I know it's invalid. It's got a nice price action though. I just really like the price action on UJ. It's quite clean. Unfortunately, you know, as you get to the end months, price action just does get worse. Well, there's less volume in the markets. This, however, does look valid. 135. Let's get to our entry because that is a valid trade. 100%. Let's draw it out. Liquidity there, and there. Break structure, big structure, big structure. Let's see if we can make back the losses. Or we could extend for 1 to 3, just because I feel like it. And if this loses, then we will know that the late months are pretty shit. Yeah, it's like a loss. Yep, unfortunate. I can kind of tell now with the price action when it's just like, you just know it's going to hit your stop loss. It's a shame really, because you had such a good year, but we end the year with 3 losses. It's a bit of a shame. Let's see, I think this is the last day. Let's see what we can do, and let's see our details. Alright, here are my session results then for the 2025 5-minute period of USD JPY. We've made 51% for the year with a profit factor of 2.65 and a win rate of 48.28%. Now these results do include from 3 PM to 6 PM, so in a second we'll filter out and have a look if that increases our win rate. But for now, we got a pretty good Zeller score of 89, and I can't lie, the chart is pretty consistent. As you can see, we had a bit of a losing streak towards the end, but you know, it happens, and the strategy is a win rate of around 50%, so the odds are it isn't exactly too rare to have like, well, at least maybe 4 trades losing streak. But you can get a winning streak like here, and you know, as you can see, I'm pretty happy with these results. Now, if we add a filter and filter our time frame, let's have a look and see if that increases all these factors here. So just remember, 2.65 profit factor and 48% win rate. Let's add the filter, day and time, entry time, so no trades later than 3 PM. Right, very interesting. Now look at that. Our win rate increases by about 3%, and our profit factor increases by, what, around 0.4, 0.5, which is actually a pretty big jump. Obviously, as you can see, our P&L is about $1,000 lower, but that is because we have lower trade frequency because we're trading less. However, if you do include that filter and we only trade from 8 AM to 3 PM, our Zeller score increases a lot, our win rate increases a lot, our profit factor increases a lot, and P&L is a bit lower, but we talked about that. So honestly, I think it may be worth it to keep the trading hours as they are and not trade further than 3 PM, because the win rate does get better and the profit factor especially is a lot higher. So yeah, I think this pair is very good and get pretty consistent results from it, especially on the 5-minute, and if you combine it with some other 5-minute pairs, you will probably be doing quite well. And here's our total graph. I'll just move myself. 41 trades in total. To be fair, these results do look pretty good, and I'm absolutely happy to continue trading this pair and keep it on my pairs list. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I think the next video will be on NAS 100, which is very good, very strong results. But yeah, I'll keep you posted. And if you want, join the free Discord. The link is in the bio. It's completely free. We do some giveaways and stuff, and it's great if you want to learn the strategy that I am trading, which is called liquidity, supply, and demand. And yeah, thank you very much for watching.